what the NVIDIA ecosystem is all about and what you have to offer for Indian startups and founders.
Thank you, Ari, for the kind introduction. Hello, everybody. One of the pleasures of this job is that I could sit in company of people like them, particularly Swak, who's finding a company like what you're doing. And I saw the show of hands from many of you. So that's an amazing, great opportunity. And what you do is disrupt industries, create new businesses. And what we do is to create a platform for you which accelerates your workload. Right, and then we build that platform in a five-layer cake so that you can take advantage of the platform with whichever layer which you would want to build, and then accelerate leveraging that, the workloads which you are working on. And that's our continued effort across the developer ecosystem. The company treats everybody as a developer so that you can take advantage of what we are building to do what you want to do. We become a time machine for achieving your results. We have, at any point of time, large amount of developer tools available across domains, across stacks, which enables to accelerate your workloads. That's a real treasure that the company has beyond the semiconductor layer, which we improve on generation to generation. Over the last 4-5 years, particularly in AI, we have developed that stack to reach across domains, from everything you can think about, from autonomous all the way to healthcare, and then into manifested and physical AI. To support this enablement for the startup ecosystem particularly, what we are doing is enabling them across their journey. We consider any company which is less than 10 years as a startup within the program framework, which we call Inception. Everybody is welcome. It's a free program. And then we enable your journey based on where you are in your current growth of the journey. If you're a founder just starting off, then we give you enablement tools for building what you want, learning tools for getting you foundationally close onto the topics which you want at various levels of expertise with an IP which we have built called Deep Learning Institute, NVIDIA Deep Learning Institute, very modularly built so that in a very tight constrained environment, you can take your learning journey like a Lego brick and then grow up the team's learning curve also very faster, right? And then enable you in the domain by putting in efforts from our side with our technical teams and route to you all the benefits that the company can offer across various departments to help and enable what you're wanting to do. And once you reach a place where you would want to get connected with the capital, we connect you to friends like Purvi out here who bring the capital to you. We also look at encouraging the entire ecosystem to network between each other so that they can get to know each other. If it makes sense from a perspective of alignment with what you want to do with them, then probably there is an opportunity for our investment arm called Ventures to look and invest into those companies. And then region to region where you would want to go to market, we enable that go-to-market with supporting ecosystem enablement for you, both on the tech side and in the market reach side. What we noticed over this last 2 years, from a vantage of where we could see in a general terms, is that the capacity for most of the companies are moved really from POC stage into production across domain areas. We're finding accelerated number of companies coming up with real practical problems, which they are ready to now take to the market, not just for India, but for the globe, right? So that's really very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you, Uni. So actually, I'd now like to redirect to Schwark, right? So you've had an interesting journey. You've been on both sides of the table. You've chosen this moment in time to step away from being a venture investor and now becoming a founder. So I'd love to get your perspective on what has changed in the last couple of years and what sort of made you move in the direction of becoming a founder, and broadly also comment on the AI ecosystem and infrastructure.
Yeah, I think one of the things I have the good or bad fortune of doing is actually living through the last two bubbles. One was the internet bubble back in the late 90s, and then the financial bubble that happened in the mid-2000s. And one of the interesting things about all these things is that there's a big innovation boom that happens when the bubble happens, but the real opportunities are 5 years out from the bubble actually popping. And that basically means that you have a tremendous amount of long-term opportunity that's just starting to build. So I'm not talking about all the companies that are going to 0 to 100 in 8 months right now, which I think is great. But I think there's a lot more sustainable opportunities that'll come that are 10 times as much in volume over the next 5 to 10 years. So when I have the option of either being a VC or a founder, the founder route seemed very, very exciting, especially at this particular point in time. And the reason why I think this is interesting is bubbles tend to build a lot of foundation. Like NVIDIA is creating a lot of hardware. Folks like CoreWeave and others are basically creating a lot of hosting and actual access to that hardware. There's also people that are building foundational models that can then be used to build higher level applications. And then there's a lot of plumbing that needs to be built to put all of this stuff together. And I think that's the big opportunity that's not fully solved yet, because think of today's AI as using a little piece of functionality on its own. But if you can string a lot of those things together in complex and interesting ways, you can do things that are almost unthinkable today. And to make that happen, you need all of the different building blocks. And so we think that there's a lot of missing pieces of infrastructure for the next generation of AI to come together, and that's why I jumped back in as a founder.
Fantastic. And when VCs are starting to become founders, it's a good time to be a startup founder in India. So let's just slightly change track now and talk a little bit about capital. Right. So what we want to know is about what's the landscape of financing AI companies in India right now, and specifically about the India-US cross-border corridor. So I'll first direct my question to Arun. IDTA just released an AI and deep tech investment report with Venture Intelligence, and you have a significant amount of commitments. You've got NVIDIA on board, the government's backing you. Would love to sort of get your take, Arun, on what the state of AI and AI financing in India is, and what's fundamentally different this time around about financing AI companies versus financing SaaS or any other tech startups in earlier times. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Hari. So the state of AI financing in India today is that there's a reasonable amount of capital available for early stage, for like seed stage, early stage. And then as you go forward, the amount of capital actually is not adequate. So adequacy in the beginning and then tapering off. Now that is being corrected, and being corrected in a pretty big way. So the government announced the Research, Development and Innovation Fund, RDIF, for 100,000 crores, $12.5 billion, which will be a big fillip to the deep tech investment ecosystem. And deep tech today almost invariably includes AI, a huge overlap between the two. So that's one. Two is that venture capital firms have been interested in deep tech, and many of us got together, and a group of us got together, and we announced that we will come together under the umbrella of the India Deep Tech Alliance, and together commit significant amounts of money towards deep tech investment in India over the next 5 years. So the firms have committed $2.5 billion, and I think it's going to increase. And of that, at least $1 billion is going to be very much directed towards AI. In addition to that, we had NVIDIA join us as a founding strategic member. They were the first corporate member to join us. And they've been followed by another 5 very good companies that have joined us. And there'll be more. And the ones that join us include Applied Materials, Lam Research, Micron, Qualcomm, L&T, CG Power. And they will work along with the investors to really develop the ecosystem for deep tech investment in India. What does that mean? It means mentoring for founders, for entrepreneurs. It means opening labs so that founders and entrepreneurs can take advantage of these large companies. And many of these large companies themselves are customers, they may be acquirers. So the tremendous amount of synergies that come together from investors and large corporates coming together to work with entrepreneurs. So that's the big story about IDTA, and generally my comment the AI financing landscape and how that is going to change with this increased focus and with the support of the RDIF that has been launched by the government.
Thank you, Arun. Can I also just ask you, how do you think deep tech investing is different from the rest of it?
Yeah, it's a very good question. First of all, in a lot of venture investments, you may be looking at what's the size of the market, how quickly can it be attacked, Do the founders have the hustle to do it? But in deep tech, there's one additional really important point, which is how deep is the technology? Is the technology going to be a true moat? Is it going to be defensible? That's going to be a very important aspect for almost every deep tech investment, because often large amounts of money have to be committed before you actually see results. It's not like in many other areas, consumer areas, very quickly you can say, I've got so many users, 100,000 users, 1 million users. That's not the case in deep tech. So this large amount of commitment, whether it is to build a chip and go through a tape out, or more than one, or whatever, which means a certain amount of time, the time it takes to sign up customers, the amount of capital can be quite a lot before you have any sense of what the result will be, which means that you have to have pretty good confidence in the defensibility of the technology and the talent of the team to execute on it. I think that would be one major difference between other kinds of investment and deep tech. Second, within deep tech, there are many areas. If you're in the if you're doing a semiconductor chip, it's got a different cycle. If you're making an application at the top of the stack, it'll be a much shorter cycle. So again, there's a spectrum. But the main thing I would look for is there deep and defensible technology, and can this team execute it? And can this team also have the temperament to add other people to the team, so that once the product is ready, you're getting ready, they can scale the company to reach global markets.
Thanks, Arun. So from deep tech, let's move on to enterprise AI. So Purvi, what is your investment thesis today, and what are you seeing as far as startups are concerned in the India-US corridor? You may want to use Schwark's mic, because that's, I think...
No, we changed the mic.
Okay,
I think this
perfect.
is good, right?
Yeah, we're good now, yeah.
Yeah. No, see, what has changed, and see, my thesis, like I invest in a lot in infrastructure, middleware, dev tools, and then applications as well, horizontal as well as vertical. See, but the biggest thing and the realization that has happened in the last, and investment thesis keeps changing every 6 months, to be very fair, because things are moving too fast. But one thing that we've come to realize is that an engineer in India versus an engineer in the US is actually fairly using the same tools. They are using the same amount, they are seeing the same problems that probably somebody else in the West is seeing, and that is why they are able to think through what gaps exist, what are the kind of problems they can solve. And that's the reason we are seeing a lot of dev tools, infrastructure, middleware. We are invested in a lot of companies in that space, and they are doing very well. The other thing between India and US is, see, I think historically, and this is again realization from SaaS, that we really started late as an ecosystem, right? We were almost 10, 15 years back. I think Salesforce was the first IPO in the US in the SaaS era. We were Freshworks for the first one for us, which happened almost 15, 17 years after. In AI, we're almost starting at the same time. Maybe, a couple of years here and there, maybe some of the research work happened a lot faster, but I think the information arbitrage, to say so, is actually reducing, and that's why we are seeing Indian entrepreneurs, Indian founders attacking very high quality problems and building solutions that probably in the last decade we have not seen. And I am personally very excited about the quality of products, and I think we have seen that it's starting to happen, that the quality of product that are coming out of Indian entrepreneurs is actually very, very good. I think the one problem that I see though is, I think Indian adoption is still low. Enterprise AI, I think, the flywheel that needs to happen for an ecosystem to really become big is that there need to be funders, which I think all of us are. There's a lot of capital in the market if someone wants to build companies. So I don't think there is lack of capital. I think there are exceptional founders coming up, very highly technical, really solving smart problems. I do feel like the domestic market, when it comes to adoption, has to really grow. Because if that doesn't grow, everyone is just going to move out. And they will start selling where people are going to buy. Mm-hmm. So that's where, there has been a lot of urge. And we have an internal team, not just for an AI portfolio, because AI portfolio is obviously having an AI adoption. But all our non-AI companies in consumer tech, fintech, we actually have teams which work with them to make sure that they are focusing on AI and adopting AI internally in their teams. And that's something that we keep pushing other teams to do a lot more as well. So that domestic market has to really grow.
No, definitely. I mean, AI is not just AI startups agenda, but everyone's agenda. No, definitely makes sense. Thanks for bringing that perspective. So I think, I think we can probably move on to sort of talking about the next sort of set of questions, which I largely had around what is a better place to start a new company today. right? And Schwark, maybe this is to you, right? So you spent time in India, you worked in the Valley, and would love to sort of understand if there's a young founder today looking to start up, should they sort of consider, let's say, starting up in a Chennai or a Bangalore, or should they think about how could I move to San Francisco, right? How do you sort of think about that and make that decision?
That's an excellent question. And I think the way to think about it, I think Purvik had a good framework for it, which is it's about where the founders or engineering is and where the market is. I think in India, the market is probably less mature. So you probably have less people buying. In and around Silicon Valley, you probably have more people buying. Generally, I'd say across the United States, you probably have a little bit more of a buying mindset right now for different kinds of technologies. So you definitely want to be selling there. In terms of where you can build, I think you can totally build out of Bangalore. There's no reason you can't build out of Bangalore anymore, or Chennai in our case. And I think we can build technologies pretty much anywhere in the world as long as you have the right go-to-market infrastructure in the right markets that have the most demand. The quality of engineering in the engineering talent in India is substantially different. I actually started a company in India in 2000, and we're doing this again now in 2026. In those 25 years or so that's transpired in between, the quality of the talent that's available in India is kind of leapfrogged by leaps and bounds. So the talent's here, the infrastructure is there, like Uni and team are making all that stuff available to folks here. So there's capital from folks like Purvi and others. So there's definitely all the different ingredients to try and build are available here. And especially if the Indian government actually makes even more of that GPU type compute available in a subsidized manner to startups, that'll be an even bigger reason to try and build out of India. But I think building out of India just makes a lot more sense, but as long as you have the right bridge to your go-to-market markets.
Right. Yeah. Arun, please. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to just build on that point, because I think India's huge competitive advantage today is going to be the capital efficiency. Because when you have the talent and you have the availability of the capital can go a much further way in India. And I can give you examples. I'm on investor and on the board of Agnikul, which is a rocket company. What they've done, building a rocket in Chennai, it would have cost 5 to 10 times that in the United States. I mean, there's no question about it. We've invested in an oncology diagnostic company in Pune. Again, the same thing to do in the US would cost at least 5 times that. So, I totally agree with your point, and I think it should be really the call to action is that it's a moment when India can be very capital efficient. Companies out of here can beat companies elsewhere using less capital.
I also want to add.
Yeah, please. Go ahead.
So thankful that Arun called this out, and they all made great points. In fact, I wanted to put these 3-4 things in perspective out here, building on what Arun said first. So the RDIF is a great initiative. It will help ensure that patient capital is available for you all to build something great. In fact, one of the incremental things which I'm hoping will happen, and we are really keen to make possible from whatever we can do to support that, is to also nurture the researchers, all great researchers, but particularly in AI, which has enabled all the disruptive breakthroughs which we are seeing, and nurture them, give them freedom to build that research which they are making into a global company and take it global. Right, potential to build from India and take it global is day one for Indian companies now. And like I said, the program we run in India itself has 4,200 plus startups, and some of them are building amazing products at the level of capital efficiency. Agnikul is an inception startup, 4,200 plus companies built by founders like you, who are building exceptional products ready for the globe. And most of the existing sort of barriers is getting over. Capacity is building in the country. The tools are openly available. Open models, we are aggressively supporting them also. That's becoming available. Capital is becoming available. I think although a lot more patient capital would really help. And like I was saying, the talent and the efficiency which is here is just incredible.
So while we have you, Uni, can you also talk a little bit about DLI and Inception and what you're doing with founders in India?
Sure. Let me start with Inception per se and then cover DLI in between. So, like I said, Inception is a free program. We nurture the startups through their journey, routing to them all the benefits that the company can offer. Starts from enabling them with the capacity which they can have for building what they want. First part of that is to give you tools to build which you want with credits and rebates on our compute infrastructure, cloud credits from all our partners, the hyperscalers, plus local cloud capacity, which we build in country from them also, in here in country, like from the Yota, which is building GPU cloud, and from all the hyperscalers, which they have individual programs. So we route them to you so that you can leverage them to build what you want within the program framework that they're offering. So you have a choice, and you can take advantage of what would be most useful and beneficial to you based on the program. We support that further with enabling you to build what you want with the tools which we provide. See, the company offers, like I said, libraries, development toolkits, which is the real treasure which you take advantage of to accelerate the workload which you are working on. At an aggregate, across any workload which you're working on, there is a lift which is possible, and lift, some of them is particularly in training and inference workloads, is really incredible. So we take advantage of the full technical backend of the company, route them to you in either a 1:1 strategic manner or a 1:many continued effort manner. Towards that learning journey, this was in the early days itself, it was a request from across our customer base that we build capacity for our customers in skilling them. So we built an IP called Deep Learning Institute, which is capsulized fundamental expertise in each area. Like, for example, in the case of deep learning, what is the fundamentals of deep learning, to what is natural language programming, to what is conversational AI, and then build them into a tight timeline 8-hour type of this thing, or a 2-hour type of courses, which is mixed between the theory of that particular topic, like what is deep learning, immediately supported with a practical on it with the GPU enabled in the cloud, and so that you can get to experiment on that with real data sets, and that program enables you the compute required for that, and then you move into the second level of it, delivered to you either with an instructor or in a self-paced manner. And then we scale that across the ecosystem in the country, leveraging this great number of engineering colleges and students in the country, giving it free of cost to them, making the faculty the ambassador for this, and getting them to deliver to their students. And honestly, I took a little bit of unfair advantage of it for India, because we could scale it almost 10x of what we have done in the other regions. Over the last 4 years, we have trained around 300 odd thousand people in the country with Deep Learning Institute. So across domains, we have now almost 30-40 courses on that, offered both in an instructor-led manner and also in self-paced manner. So we offer that support to the startups, giving them credits on that. And then take your journey of development on your technical, what you're wanting to build it. And once you're ready for that, we have a program within the Inception environment, which we call the Capital Connect, which onboards venture capital companies like Purvi's, Elevation Capital, etc., into the program. And then we enable connection between you and them. If you want the connection to the capital, we enable them to be exposed to you so that you can directly interact. And we offer also networking opportunities in multiple forms and form factors, which enables that interactions to go on. We also sort of table those opportunities to our investment arm called Inventures, so that they find alignment to this in region to region as a part of their journey. They would look at investing into it. And then once you're ready to go to the market, we enable you to that by connecting you to with our ecosystem in that region, our front-end team in that region, so that we can get you to be in that market and enable you into that market, and then celebrate your success. We have a booth here. I'm hoping and requesting all of you to come and join us. We have put 28 of the top startups in the region out there, from model builders to agentic AI use case builders across healthcare to solving problems in legal to department level problems in any of the use case areas, both on a cloud environment and also with what we have announced with DGX Spark, the GB10 based system, on an air gap mode also. And then voice tech, we are leading that across multiple use cases, is many of them out there with the cost per inference at far lower than the world average currently, which you can yourself see. And then companies which is working on entertainment to healthcare, physical AI across AMRs to drones, and building disruptive technologies. I request you all to come and look at it and hopefully celebrate them.
Thank you, Ani. I think that's been a pretty detailed explanation of what NVIDIA has to offer. So I think we spoke a little bit, we touched upon how on the supply side we are sort of sorted. I mean, cost of capital, we touched upon it, talent availability in India, and sort of awareness and readiness to sort of attack difficult problems in middleware. I want to spend a little bit of time on the demand side of enterprise AI, right? So which is, what can startups do today? And I'll start with Purvi, to sort of make sure that they're able to get traction with enterprises, right? So where's the gap? If I'm a young founder, it makes a lot of sense for me to build something that's B2C. But if I want to get traction with enterprises, what could I do today, especially in the AI space, to show that, to demonstrate that I'm mature and I'm a trusted partner?
Yeah, sure. See, I think, I mean, to get into any enterprise, that's a tough thing. But just go and chat with people. There are thousands and thousands of problems in any enterprise today. Pick a sector that you like and where you think you have some unfair advantage to be a founder who can build a big company. If you think you have worked in healthcare before, you understand some processes there, and you can actually have some ideas. You may not have all the ideas, but let's say you have some ideas, you understand certain processes, go speak to people in enterprises there. If you're a lawyer, if you've worked in legal before, go and spend time with law firms. If you've worked in manufacturing, actually go and spend time with manufacturing. The reason I'm saying all of this is that you need to start somewhere. Because from outside, everyone can build customer support because that's an obvious problem. It's a big TAM. But the real problems in enterprises are extremely messy today, and a lot of sales is also very consultative. And that's why people are ready to talk to people who understand that domain a little bit more. Because from day one, you will not have the solution. You may not even have the right perfect problem to solve for. But if you can tell them that, hey, this is AI, this is what is possible with AI, and then starts working on a specific use case, people will give you their time, right? I think that's the part that people should start with, especially young founders, that just understand that what is that industry where you have some unfair advantage, and everyone, like I'm pretty sure this is a big room and it's full packed, thankfully. There is someone who's coming from specific industries, and if you go and think and look back that, hey, what is it that those industries have been doing which fundamentally can be automated with everything you know about AI so far, and start thinking and building those solutions, start showing those solutions to those enterprises, and you will start seeing some interest. And once you have that interest, then go deep and find that use case. Once you have understood with one enterprise what that looks like, go to second enterprise and start telling them what the first enterprise was doing, because that's what is consultation, right? And that's the best way to sell an enterprise. So I think enterprise business is always tough, but once you get in, it's super sticky, it makes money, and it's actually great to be building in that space.
Thank you. And Arun, if I can invite some comments from you as well. For startups trying to do the India-US corridor sale, right? What do you think they should be doing, and what do they need to get right in order to succeed?
First of all, I want to just reinforce what Purvi said, because I came from the world that you're now living in, right. Essentially dealing with enterprises. And I think today, there's a lot of appetite among enterprises to check out AI. So almost everybody will say, give me a proof of concept. So you've got to pick carefully so that it's somebody who we can build deeper relationships with. It's a really great point. So in terms of the US and India corridor, I mean, the question that people keep asking is, should you build for Indian customers first or for global customers?
Right.
I see a lot of people saying, immediately go to San Francisco, start serving customers there because the margins are higher and so forth. My own personal view is that you should look at India as a test bed. There are very good, sophisticated customers here, and if you can, make your solution successful here, then you're in much better shape to take it globally. Second, there are many global companies in India. They could be a good stepping stone to test something out and then take it to globally. So my feeling is, use India as a good test bed. It's much more efficient to do it here, and then start looking at how you can solve the same problem elsewhere. But having global markets in mind is really important. Again, it depends on the kind of product. If you're building, a semiconductor chip, then you have to have global scale from the beginning. So from the beginning, you need to be solving a problem that's a global problem. In the enterprise case, if you solve a problem here, most likely that solution will apply globally.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I just wanted to
Please,
add
yeah,
one
go on.
very small point. I think on that point, right, where should you start? I think you should start where the customer pain point you can actually see. If you're actually building for healthcare in the US, actually healthcare in India and healthcare in the US is very different. It's very tough to start building from India, right? Versus if you're building for, let's say, dev tools, infrastructure, middleware, your customers, at least your pilots can be here because the persona is sitting here. The processes are very similar. So you have to be just closer to your customers and just start building. And one can always be in that conundrum of, I just want to be in SF, but that's tone deaf. A lot of people cannot be in SF from the get-go. So just start wherever you are, but just make sure that the personas are similar and the tools and processes that they're using are similar.
Thank you. So Shwarg, if I can just come back to you, right? So I think you touched upon this earlier in terms of focusing on AI solutions that stand the test of time and building for the long term, right? So can I just ask you for some of the problem statements that you've seen, which you think make sense for people to focus on as startup founders for the long term?
So I think if you look at the kinds of things that, again, coming back to what is selling or what is actually being used, the things that are actually the most impactful right now tend to be voice applications. Those are the things that a lot of corporations are actually putting in production, because the number of dollars that are spent on what I'll call proof of concept or play money, so to speak, is in the hundreds of billions of dollars right now, because every corporation is trying to figure out what they do with their AI. So which means that there's lots of money being spent to try out different things to see what works. But so really what you want to look for is the things that are actually moving into production, that are actually scaling to large revenues and taking big chunks of a cost or revenue on any given company, any one customer. Voice tends to be one big area in that category. Developer tools, of course, is another one that seems to see a lot of traction in that category. So there's certain areas that I think have a lot of traction. There's also, I think, infrastructural stuff that is also starting to become more and more of an issue. So as people are trying to say, I'm going to be fine-tuning models. There was a time when everybody was going to try and build their own model. I think now that's less the case. Now the people are trying to say, what do I fine-tune to get to what I need to get to? So the tool sets and the tooling to kind of make those kinds of things work is, of course, also starting to get more interest and traction. There's also foundational elements that I think are problems that are not fully solved. Context and memory are some of the things that are starting to become bigger and bigger issues. As the context windows of these LLMs are actually growing, the opportunity to use context more interestingly and more effectively is starting to change, which means there's a whole new slew of opportunities of what you can do at that layer. Memory, of course, of remembering what has happened before to guide the future actions. All of which, again, as context windows keep growing, all of these different problems start to become bigger and bigger opportunities. So I'd say that the infrastructural opportunities are also quite rich as you look forward.
Great, thank you for that. So just with an eye on the clock, right? What I would love to do is to have invite each one of you to just sort of make some closing comments. What would you like founders in the room today to take away from the conversation today? What would you like to leave them with? Maybe I can start with Arun, because
in the AI area, in the deep tech area, I'd say solve a difficult problem and solve it using defensible technology. Have an edge, a technological edge, and have it with a team that can execute.
Thank you. Uni?
Yeah, Building on what Arun was saying, I think that becomes the foundation, right? From there, I think your limitations are no more what your limitations was earlier. None of those, I think, exist today, right? From with AI becoming possible and opening up markets the way it is doing. So think global, think bigger, and make it a hard problem which will be difficult for others to follow through without that much mode being crossed over, right? So that's my thought.
So I think I'll pick on something Arun said a little bit earlier. I think India has some very unique advantages. I think cost advantages being one of them. I think AI specifically has real ways you can leverage that in some making it a superpower. So leverage the cost differential that you have in India to your advantage, as opposed to effectively just doing one more copycat solution of something else that's being done in a different vertical or a different category. You can, in fact, train or fine tune and do things, because the labor that you might need in order to make that happen might be impossible to do anywhere else in the world, but you can actually get that done here. So there's some very interesting opportunities. You can solve tougher problems. You can start looking at infrastructural kind of components that can be built. So India can actually look at building some real powerful technology. We're trying to do something like that here in Chennai. So I think that's something that I think is possible to be done out of India that everybody should take advantage of.
Thank you.
It's tough to go last. No, I think the only thing I'll say is that the fundamentals of business building has not changed. So attack a deep pain point, solve it in the most consistent way while using AI as the technology enabler, and just be bold and ambitious. I think it's a golden time to be building in AI, and most of us should be building more things, whether as a company or just our internal stuff, but we should just be using the AI a lot more.
All right, thank you so much for that. I think we're sort of done with the formal round of panel discussions, but I think I think we're open for some audience questions, perhaps. I don't know if someone can facilitate. Yeah, I can just hand you a mic from here.
So actually, my question is for Arun sir and Purvi ma'am. Do you suggest employment, then startup or direct startup? And do you invest in ARR-based startup or pre-revenue-based startup? And the final thing is, should the new generation startups use lean startup methodology set by Eric Rice, or go ahead with user research, then pick our problem statement and go to the customers?
Well, one question at a time, man. So, what is your first question?
First, should we work as an employee in a company, have our own pockets full of money, then start our own startup, or directly start a startup?
So I think maybe Purvi, you want to take that.
No, I can definitely answer that question. I think there is absolutely no right time to start up. I have seen founders, and if you look at YC, half of them are college dropouts. They didn't even finish their studies, leave apart employment. So it doesn't really matter whether you've been employed, you've worked before or not, or if you have, maybe you have certain kind of experience that you can leverage. I think to be a founder, you have to learn and unlearn a lot of things. You need to have the courage and the risk appetite. So just get started if you have that today.
And as a VC, do you invest in a startup that is building revenue, or a pre-revenue based startup who are ready for launch? Because early student founders don't have money, right, to invest in their own startup. So they need to bootstrap. So for launching, they need, of course, capital.
Yes, see, also there are venture capital available at all stages. So there is venture capital available at a pre-seed stage, which is what you are saying, then at a seed stage, and then Series A, Series B, etc. So you will find investors, including ourselves, where we will invest in just ideas. If we really like the thesis, if we really like the founders, we will invest in them. They don't have revenue. Sometimes at the same stage, we will want a product but no revenue. And while investing the same money in certain categories, we would want a product and a revenue both. So it really matters, but you will find investors who are willing to deploy money without revenue.
Sorry to take your time. One last question.
Sorry,
for user
research.
research.
I think there are going to be others who want. You can definitely get in touch with her afterwards. Yeah.
Hello, good morning, panel. Thanks for the great session. My question is, when you are at the ideation stage, VC will fund you. But if you are not clear with the business models, then the business model will be changed and the market disrupts. What will be the further actions on that?
Okay, I mean, actually, let me take that with my experience as a former entrepreneur, right? So I think all good ideas or all good battle plans get disrupted the first time you make contact with the enemy, right? So you can sort of have a great plan on paper. The moment you meet your first prospective client, their feedback is going to impact you, and you're going to have to evolve with that, right? So while there might be startups who are officially saying that they pivoted, and there are others who are not calling that out, every company in this world is continuously evolving, right? So I think that there's no right answer to that. You always have to continuously change yourself and what you want to do based on the feedback that the market's giving you.
Don't get stiff from your ideas. You have to be constantly changing your idea, business model, and
So I would say
structure.
the one advice that has been given to me, which has stood this test of time, is fall in love with your problem and not your solution, right? So if your customer problem is real, it's validated, you can keep changing the way you solve it. You could solve it using traditional automation. You could switch over to Gen AI or AI. But as long as you sort of keep obsessing over that problem and you're clear that that's the problem you want to go after, I think that level of clarity must be there, and it's probably immutable. But beyond that, I mean, be opportunistic. Figure out where, if you're finding a better problem to work on, of course, you should consider making that switch. Yeah, please.
Hello panel, my name is Sameer Nigam, and I am the founder of AI Society, which is a consulting and training company for startups. We consult people how to invest into startups. So recently I got an offer from a founder. He's into a healthcare startup, and he's building an application for stress management. So and I got an offer for a CTO. So I was when I was looking at his deck and I was looking for the market, there I found there was a lot of compliances among from government to keep the data within the borders, especially in the healthcare sector in the field of AI. So how can, and we are also looking for the funding obviously, and how can we make this work into, whenever we go to funding rounds, they always force a lot into keeping the data within the borders for the future perspective. So how can we
So
do
let me try to reframe that question. I think we spoke a lot about India-US corridor. So I think the question is really, how does data localization rules impact that decision making of should you start up in India or abroad, and how you frame your
exactly.
cost structure?
I'm happy to take that. See, there will be certain categories, especially regulatory sectors, BFSI, healthcare, etc., where you will have to be an Indian company because your customers, whether it's a bank or a healthcare company in this case, they would want the data residency to be there. You could be a global company and still have data residency in India. It's a little bit more complicated right now. A lot of global companies are trying to do that with India as well, where they are putting data residency in India. But I think it's a very It's an important call to make, whether you want to serve regulatory sectors in India or not, and if yes, then you should be an Indian company.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think we have room for one last question. Yeah, please.
Sorry, broader question. Are there segments that you think that there should be more AI startups in, but you don't see? Like, we are building something in media and we don't see the same level of buying happening or aggressiveness in certain sectors. So is that...
Sorry, what are you building in?
Media.
Media.
So we didn't see the same level of funding going in the sector. So are there sectors you're staying away from, or you think startups should build more in?
That's a great question. To be fair, I am seeing startups building across the spectrum. Which is a great place to be in. There is obviously a lot more startups in obvious use cases like customer support, voice, etc. But would love to see a lot more in creative generation. We're seeing a lot of obviously model companies coming up in video and image generation, but do feel that the entire creative suite fundamentally can be rethought of. Do feel that essentially the thesis personally I have is that any knowledge work, no matter who you are, whether you are a lawyer, you're a healthcare expert, you are a marketer, you're a videographer, etc., everyone needs to have an OS which they will start creating and they will actually start using at their workspace, right? And that I think is an unsolved problem today. In certain categories, in law, for example, it has started to happen, but it has not happened for a lot of other knowledge work categories. So that's an interesting space where we've seen a few things, but not as much. But I'll let others also answer.
If anyone else wants to add to that. How much time do you have? I think we're on the clock. So, thank you so much. You've been a lovely panel and a lovely audience. So the panel is available for questions afterwards as well, in case you want to get in touch with any of them. They're all here. I think we're over time, ma'am. So it's okay. You can get in touch with them right after. We're right here. Yeah. So thank you so much. You've been an amazing audience, and please enjoy the rest of your time at the India AI Impact Summit. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us and sharing the valuable insights. There is a small memento from India AI. So this is the...
Over 16 years of observation which now I used to be doing scientific crystallization to validate of being a deep